Eternity is about one woman's decision between her two husbands of who she will spend her afterlife with, but is that concept alone worth your time? Hey everyone, welcome to Cinema, where we focus on a film. I'm Josh, this is Simply Cinema. Let me know down in the comments below what you thought of Eternity. Is it good, is it bad, or somewhere right in the middle? Or if you're looking out for this review to decide if you're going to see it or not, and taking it into my general thoughts, going about this film following the concept where this one woman, played by Elizabeth Olsen, has had one husband who has died out in the war, and the other husband has lived out 65 years of her life, going throughout what we're following within this interesting love triangle of a circle of a life, the way we're conceptually going throughout this film and going straight into the action pretty much 5 to 10 minutes within the film, you're going on to the life and death of the situation. This does have a dark turn near the beginning because of the concept alone, where you're playing in a little bit of a dark humor that plays out properly with going throughout this environment. And this is an A24 film, so it is stylish, it is grounded within some of its means. It's not one of those A24 films where it's too wild of a concept to grasp, and to some extent there is some relatively basic standards. Sometimes it didn't go deep enough into the concept that some may want out of it, but generally that allows a general audience to process all of it better and to embrace the comedy for what it offers. And we're going about these two different husbands, one within the war, played by Callum Turner, and one that lived out his life with her, played by Miles Teller, that they share a good amount of chemistry within each other. They have great supporting roles and other ones that support them along the way, especially Divine Joy Rudolph, who just is someone that I've been fond of as an actress going throughout her years, and being able to tackle this type of concept does nail itself pretty well as what you expect out of the film, whether you've seen the film trailer or going into it blind. There's something that's very fresh and unique about this concept that you've seen love triangles before, but this is a different turn of events where this one woman's decision is playing into the circumstance of knowing what she has to make her decision going out through eternity, that really circumstance the environment, builds up some of the mystery, the tension, getting you invested into these lives, that the chemistry nails itself right off the bat, especially between Elizabeth Olsen, Miles Teller, who play the ones that have been living out all their lives. And while you aren't seeing all of their lives played out on Earth, it's a pretty straightforward chronological film that doesn't break into flashbacks of it, although it does have archived footage that they review of events that have circumstated in their past. There's just a generality of this film that's easy to process. It has bits of humor here and there that gave me bits of laughs that I feel will be really welcoming, really warm-hearted, while still dealing with this livelihood of the process of love, of life, and everything that is done in between within the way these relationships turn out, and this consequence of making a wrong decision by the end. Which takes me into the positive. I just generally like the concept. I feel it was executed quite well, and while it didn't go deeper into the meanings of life and everything around that, I love that it does lend itself to a general audience that can open up to this love triangle that isn't teen drama. It's an older couple, and there's no immoral actions that are really forced upon screen. There's certain circumstances where it just dwells within the environment. It shows different environment of how she must make this choice between her two husbands, and building upon this younger versions of themselves where they were the happiest in their lives makes sense to the interesting realm of the afterlife and the in-between moment between where they are on Earth and going on to choose their place in eternity that really builds upon this world that isn't too deep. There's not all these complex things that you have to gather and remember in your mind. So it doesn't make itself too convoluted or complicated to this situation at hand. And I really do feel the performances are done best where they shine through, and that's what you can really embrace from this film as a whole. It's just the circumstances, the chemistry between the cast. That's a really good ensemble by the basic standards that you could expect. Which takes me into the negatives. Unfortunately, I feel there were certain moments where this film, as a film called Eternity, and dealing with the circumstances of love, of choices, and life, I feel there could have been a lot more dug deeper into the concept while still being able to make it easy to understand, because this, by the very essence, is a philosophical idea and expresses those values. But I feel it just shies away from going deeper into the consequences, adding true stakes into the environment, to where there's certain things done later on in the film that, while I won't spoil certain actions, certain choices, what all, because that is the pure motive to watch this film, is the decision by the end of the day, there's certain consequences and stake that this film shows at hand, but they don't fully feel as eminent by the end, by where you're seeing certain motivations, certain choices being made, that the way they go about sort of lends itself into a safe route this film could take, that otherwise I feel the writer really struggled to make a decision on what was actually going on to the turn of events. To which, while I did love most of the film, there was a good portion of the ending that I was just kind of underwhelmed by the consequences of certain actions and how we're going about within this film. While there is a concept in the forefront of this film, it also feels like it runs itself a little bit too long. And while I was invested throughout all of that runtime, it also lends itself better to a shorter film, because the concept can be a little repetitive to the nature of what you're following about, that you could show pretty much any scenes of how she must make this decision between her two husbands who she decides eternity with, that ultimately doesn't pay off as strongly as I would have hoped to, especially within the emotional realm that it sort of suggests, but I don't personally feel it myself. So that's just my personal thoughts on Eternity, which I have to rate as simply 7 out of 10. Let me know down in the comments below what you thought of the film. Was it good, bad, or somewhere right in the middle? Or if I helped you out, decide if you're going to see this film or not. Make sure to like this video if you enjoy it. Subscribe if you haven't already to join in the film culture community, where we talk about the love of cinema as a whole. So that's just all, and make sure to do yourself a favor and go watch a movie.